morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about chapter 3, Deep Water, which is written by William Douglas. Now, when you have the time and when you can Google it, just Google the name William Douglas in your phone so that you can know a little bit about the writer, what is William Douglas capable of, or who is William Douglas. So there is this little bit written about the writer William Douglas in your textbook, but this is a little excerpt about his life, and we get to know about William Douglas through this lesson. This lesson is an excerpt from Of Men and Mountains by this author himself. An excerpt, I think you already know the meaning of an excerpt. An excerpt means a small portion or one chapter taken out from a book. So this is written by William Douglas, and in this lesson, Deep Water, he is talking about how he had this extreme fear of water and how he overcame this fear that he had about water. So he began by narrating his story, or narrating an event that had occurred when he was about 11 or 10 or 11 years old. He said that it had begun when he was about 10 or 11 years old, and he said that he wanted to go to YMCA swimming pool to learn how to swim. And there was a pool in the YMCA swim area where anyone who wanted to learn how to swim went and learned how to swim there. And so he wanted to go to that swimming pool because there is not only one, there are many rivers in his neighboring areas. He said that he lived in Yakima, but he said that there are lots of rivers where he can go and swim, but the problem is that William Douglas, his mother often warned him, often told him stories about how people drowned in the river, how dangerous it is to go and swim in the river. And because of his mother's constant warnings, he does not want to go to the river to learn how to swim, but instead he went to the YMCA swimming pool. And they thought that the YMCA swimming pool was a little bit safer than learning to swim in the river. And he said that it was only 2 or 3 feet deep in the YMCA swimming pool in the kids area, but the actual swimming pool, the big swimming pool, was 9 feet deep at the deepest bottom. So he thought that if he go to the YMCA swimming pool, even if he met with a little bit of problem during swimming, then maybe there would be others as well and they could help him to swim. Now, when he went to the YMCA swimming pool, he took some water wings where he could learn to swim with, and then he went there. And since he was only 10 or 11 years old, he was a very, very skinny boy, and he said that he does not want to show his skinny legs to others. And then he walked very timidly, very shyly towards the swimming pool. And then what happened was, but then he said that he gave away those fear of showing his skinny legs, and then he went to the swimming pool. And he said, from the beginning, however, I had an aversion to the water when I was in it. Aversion means he had this dislike. He does not like to go into the water very much. He does not like water very much. And he said that this happened why he did not like to go into water, or why he does not like to learn swimming at the very young age, was because when he was only about 3 or 4 years old, his father took him to a beach in California, and then his father made him stand on the beach near the water. And when the big flow or the big wave of the water came, William Douglas, being only 3 or 4 years old, he fell, and then lots of water was coming inside his mouth, getting inside his mouth, because the wave was covering him, and he was feeling very scared during that time, and his father only laughed at him. So from the beginning, from that time onwards, he had a very great fear of water. He does not like water very much. He does not like to, he does not want to learn how to swim. But when he was about 10 or 11 years old, he said that, okay, I'm not going to be scared of the water anymore. I'm going to go and learn how to swim in the swimming pool. So he went to the swimming pool. And then what happened was that at first, when he went to the swimming pool, he went towards the swimming pool along with other children who were also learning how to swim there. He was very timid, very shy at first. So he went to the swimming pool, and he went to the edge of the pool, and then he was sitting there. He watched other kids and what they were doing. They were flapping their arms and legs in the water, learning to swim. So when he saw other children also doing the same thing, he went inside the pool timidly, but then he stretched out his arms and legs, and then he learned how to swim. So he went there for about 2 or 3 times, and then he began to feel a little bit at ease. He began to feel a little comfortable inside the water to swim. And then after he went there for about 2-3 days, he began to feel a little comfortable. Little by little, his fear of water subsided, and he began to feel comfortable. But just when he began to feel comfortable, this misadventure happened. It was the time when no one else was there in the swimming pool. He went there to swim, to learn how to swim, but he thought that, okay, there is no one here, so I'll just sit by the pool and wait for others to come, because he doesn't want to swim by himself in case something bad happens to him. So he will sit there by the pool, and then he waited for others to come. But when he was sitting there quietly, one big boy came, and he was about 18 years of age. He was already a very big boy with big muscles, and since William Douglas was only 10 or 11 years old during that time and was very skinny, he does not develop any muscles in him at all. And he was admiring the big boy who came towards him, because that big boy already had muscles with big arms and chest and legs, and then that boy also had a little hair on his chest, and he was admiring this big boy. He said that he thought that, oh, this is a very beautiful specimen. He is already a very beautiful boy, very beautiful muscles and very nice muscles. And when he was admiring him, this big boy was calling out to William Douglas. He was saying, hey, skinny, hey, you skinny boy, how'd you like to be ducked? Means that if I throw you inside the pool, how would you like it if I throw you inside the pool? And so before William Douglas could answer, this big boy, he picked William Douglas up, and then he threw him inside the pool. And William Douglas was very scared, and he was his arms and legs were all over the place. He was trying to escape from the water. He was flapping his arms and legs, and then he was going inside the pool, in the deepest part of the pool, which is 9 feet deep. And while he was going down, he was thinking to himself, okay, I'm not going to panic, I'm not going to be scared, and then when I get down to the bottom, I'll just hit the bottom with my feet, and then I'll spring back up like a cork. And then when I get to the top of the water, then I'll swim towards the edge of the pool, and then I'll get out, and then I'll be safe. So he was thinking all these, and then he was having all these plans. And when he get to the bottom of the water, he at first, when he saw the water, he saw that the water was very clear, very nice and clear. He could see the bottom of the water, the bottom of the pool, which has white tiles to it. It was very clear. The water was very clean and clear. And when he get down to the bottom, when he was trying to save himself from the water, when he was struggling inside the water, his vision began to be blurry, and he saw the water as if it has a very yellow tinge to it. The water became very yellow with his vision. And then he began to go down to the bottom of the water. And when he hit the bottom of the swimming pool, when he hit the tile, and he jumped with all his strength towards the top of the water, towards the surface of the water. But at first he planned that he would jump back like a cork, and then, but when he actually hits the bottom of the tile, the bottom of the swimming pool, when he hit the bottom and when he was jumping back up, it does not go as he planned. He was floating slowly towards the top of the water, towards the surface of the water. And then when he came up to the surface of the water, his head was above the surface of the water, his eyes came up, his nose came up, but then his mouth could not came out of the water. And he looked and he saw that, he think that all the water had turned into yellow color. And he was looking for anything that could save him. Is there any rope or that he could grab? But there is nothing. And he was reaching out with his hands to grab a rope, but he only catch water with his hands. And then what happened was, he became very scared. He flailed at the surface of the water. He flailed means that he was struggling at the top of the water. He was trying to get out. But then what happened was, when he was moving at the surface of the water, he choked on the water. A lot of water came inside his mouth, and then he began to choke and he began to cough, swallow it, cough it, and then he thought that he cannot breathe. And what happened was, he was trying to bring his legs up on the top of the water, but he could not bring his legs up. His legs felt very rigid, very heavy, as if he was a paralyzed person. He cannot bring his legs up. His legs seem very heavy to him now. And then what happened was, he was trying to scream. In his mind, he was screaming for help. But when he opened his mouth to scream, more water get inside his mouth and his voice cannot come out of his mouth. Only the water hurt him. And then he was very scared. And then finally, after he tried to get out of the water, again he went to the bottom of the swimming pool. He cannot get out of the water, so he started falling back down towards the bottom of the swimming pool. And when he went down the second time, he was trying as hard as he could not to panic and not to be scared, but already he was very scared. He was reaching out, trying to grab anything that could hold him or that could help him get out of the water. He said that he was struggling. He was throwing his legs and arms as if someone was fighting, like when you have a very bad nightmare and you wanted to wake up and then you were struggling. He was comparing it to that. And then he said that his lungs had ached, his heart had ached, because he had he had swallowed lots and lots of water inside him already. And when he tried to scream, his voice cannot come out, and he was feeling very dizzy as well. He cannot see clearly now. And then, but amidst all this, amidst all his struggling and amidst all his fear, he still remembered his strategy. His strategy was that as soon as he hit the bottom of the swimming pool, he would reach out with his legs, he would jump as hard as he could so that he could come to the surface of the water, and then he will get out of the water. That was his plan. And then he was going down, 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 and then he was thinking that he was seeing the water as if it was yellow water everywhere around him. He could see only yellow water, and he could not see through all those water. And then suddenly, when he was going down to the bottom of the swimming pool, a very huge terror means scary, scared, being scared, very scared. He was very, very scared. Very huge terror struck him deeply, and then he was shaking to his core. He was shaking from deep within his heart because he was so scared. He was so scared that he was going to die inside the water. He was so scared because his lungs was already filled with water. Whenever he opened his mouth, more and more water came inside his mouth, and because of that he began to feel very, very scared inside the water. And because he was feeling so scared, his whole body was shaken by that fear. And he was trying to scream, but no voice can come out of his mouth. Only the water hurt him. And he thought that he was, he was already going to die, but he knew that he was not dying because he had a very huge headache on his head. His head was throbbing with the pain of his headache, and he could hear his heartbeat very loudly, and because of that only he knew that he is not dead right now. And then what happened was that amidst all those terror, when he was having those huge fear, suddenly he remembered his strategy again. Okay, I will not be scared. I should not be scared. I will jump with all my strength, and when I hit to the surface of the water, then I will get out of the water. I will swim towards the edge of the water, and then I will get out of the water. Now this is what he was again planning. And when he reached to the bottom of the swimming pool, again he reached out his toes and he was trying to jump with all his strength. And then when he reached the bottom of the swimming pool, and when he reached there, he again reached out his toes and he was trying to jump with all his strength. But this jump made no difference to him because he was feeling very weak now, but he was slowly rising to the surface of the water. And he was looking for ropes, ladders, water wings, anything that could help him to get out of the water, but there was nothing that he could see that could help him. And then suddenly his whole body shook, like as if you charge it with an electricity, as if you shock it with an electricity. His whole body shook because he was feeling so scared. And then when he was suddenly rising to the top of the water, suddenly he could see some light, and he knew that he came out of the water, out of the awful yellow water. And then his eyes were coming outside of the water, only his eyes, and then his nose was almost out of the water too, because only his eyes were out of the water, and he could see some light surrounding him, and his nose was almost out of the water. But then when he had that little bit of hope, then he started to sink back to the bottom for the third time. And when he began to fall down to the bottom of the swimming pool again for the third time, now he was trying to breathe. He had a very little hope of survival, and then he breathed. He tried to suck in a lot of air, as much air as he possibly could. But when he was trying to breathe some air, again more water got inside his mouth, and then he suddenly he felt that all his efforts ceased, means that he stopped all his efforts to survive. He stopped all his efforts to stay out of the water. And then suddenly what happened was blackness swept over him. There was some, he saw the water as if it was all black now. All he could see was black, black, black in his surroundings. And what happened was suddenly his mind was feeling very peaceful, and he was thinking, okay, this is very nice now, I will go to sleep like this. And then suddenly he was feeling something. He was feeling like his mother has touched him, and he was thinking, oh, this must be my mother holding me, rocking me to sleep. So he thought that, okay, I'm going to sleep right now. And then what happened was, I crossed to oblivion, and the curtain of life fell. Oblivion means he fell unconscious. Now he began to feel unconscious. And then what happened was, the next thing that he remembered was, he was lying at the edge of the pool, outside the swimming pool, at the edge of the pool, and he was vomiting. He was vomiting and keep on vomiting. And the big boy that threw him inside the water was very scared, because everyone thought that he was going to die. William Douglas was going to die. And the big boy that threw him inside the water, people around him were scolding that big boy, and that big boy was telling the people, I was only playing with him, I was only joking with him, I don't know that he was going, he does not, I didn't know that he don't know how to swim, I was only playing with him. And he was almost crying. And then somebody was saying, this poor boy almost died because you threw him inside the water, but he will be all right now. Now let's get him to safety. So they took him to the locker room. They made him lie down on the bench, and after some hours had passed, he went home on his own 2 feet. But as he went home, his feet were shaking, and when he reached his house, he went straight to bed. He went to bed. He lay down without even eating anything. He went straight to bed, and then he was crying. He was still shaking with fear. He shook and cried, and then he went to sleep that night like that. And after that incident happened, what happened was, William Douglas, after that, he began to have a very, very deep fear of water. So he does not want to go to inside water anymore. He does not want to learn how to swim anymore. And this went on for several years. And what happened was that now he was already a grown man. He was already a grown-up man. After years, he said that his fear of water had deprived him, because he had this huge fear of water. Whenever his friends asked him to go for swimming, he would say, no, I don't want to come swimming. Whenever his friends were asking him to go fishing, he would say, no, I will not go. So he thought that he had missed out all the fun that he should be having with his friends, going boating, canoeing, fishing, swimming, all these things he cannot do along with his friends, because he had this huge fear of water. So one fine day, he was thinking that enough of this fear. I am going to learn how to swim now. I'm going to get over this fear. So one day, one October, he decided that this is enough. I'm going to go and learn swimming. So he hired a swimming instructor to teach him how to swim, and he went to the swimming pool. And the swimming instructor, when William Douglas finally reached the swimming pool, the swimming instructor, what he did was, first of all, William Douglas does not even want to put his feet inside the water, just put it, simply put his feet inside the water, because he would be shaking with fear. Now what the instructor did was, he tied a rope around William Douglas' waist, and this rope was again tied to an overhead pulley, so that whenever William Douglas went inside the water, and if he's going to fall down to the bottom of the water, this pulley would pull him back from the water so that he will not drown inside the water. So first of all, the instructor asked him to put his feet inside the water slowly, to take 1 or 2 steps inside the water. And then second, what the instructor did was he asked to move his arms around the water. At first, William Douglas was very scared, so this went on and on for several days. After 2-3 weeks of just getting inside the water, going back and forth in the swimming pool, this went on for several weeks. And finally, he was able to go inside the water, took some steps, 2-3 steps, and then get back to the instructor. So this went on for several weeks. So after he could go inside the water and after he could take 2-3 steps, then the instructor asked him to swim across the swimming pool back and forth. Firstly, he would learn to move his arms, only his arms, for 1 or 2 weeks. He would learn to move only his arms, and then his legs followed. And then finally, the instructor asked him to move back and forth in the swimming pool, to swim back and forth in the swimming pool. So what happened was, this continued when he was learning to swim. When he first learned to swim, it was October. And then finally, in April, the instructor asked William Douglas, now dive into the pool and swim back and come back to me. So when the instructor asked William Douglas, then William Douglas dived into the swimming pool. He swam back and forth across the swimming pool, and then the instructor said, all right, you can now swim on your own. I don't have to help you. You have already learned how to swim. So the instructor have had enough. But William Douglas said, no, I can swim in the swimming pool only, but what will happen if I go outside of the swimming pool? What will happen if I swim in the river or in the lakes, if I still have that fear? And so he wanted to prove himself that he does not have that fear at all. He wanted to completely erase that fear from his mind. So what happened was that when he got the first opportunity, he went to Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire, and then he dived off from there to Triggs Island and swam 2 miles across the lake to Stamp Act Island. So he swam 2 miles across Stamp Act Island, and then he swam back and forth. And only one time he had this fear. When he was in the middle of the lake, he looked down at the deep end of the lake, and he saw that the lake was very dark, very black, very dark. He could not see the bottom of the lake. Suddenly the fear came back, but he was thinking in his mind, oh, what can you do to me? Why are you making me feel scared? What can you do to me? So he was putting on his brave face, and then he swim on, and then he know that he does not have any more fear, but still he was not yet satisfied. So what happened was, again, when he had the first opportunity, he went camping at a very beautiful place, a very nice place called Worm Lake. So the next morning he set up a tent, and then he camped there by himself. And the next morning, at the first opportunity, when he wake up the next morning, he took off his clothes, he put on his swimming clothes, and then he swim to the lake. He dived into the lake, swim across to the shore, and swim back. And he does not have fear anymore. When he was swimming back and forth across the lake, he know that his fear had completely vanished. His fear had completely left him. So he was very happy. He was shouting. He was enjoying that time. He was shouting, and his voice was echoing from the mountains near him. And he said that in the last paragraph, William Douglas explained that the fear that he experienced inside the swimming pool was so great that a person who does not have any fear, who never experienced any fear, will not be able to understand him. He said that if a person only experience a great fear, that not only death, not only survival, but death would be preferable during those times. Only the people who only experience only those kind of fear would be able to understand him. In that huge moment of fear, he said that he does not want to survive. He does not even want to survive. He wanted to be dead instead of surviving. So he said that only those kind of person, only people who had experienced those kind of experience will be able to understand him. And he quote Roosevelt. He said, all we have to fear is fear itself. Roosevelt had said that all we have to fear is fear itself. So William Douglas, after he overcame his greatest fear, he now is able to live fear-free. So he was feeling very happy. So he said that he could, at last I felt released, free to walk the trails and climb the peaks and to brush aside fear. Now he was feeling very relieved. He was feeling as if a huge burden was taken off from him, and he could swim and enjoy all the fun activities that he could do with his friends. So with this, we had finished this lesson, and this chapter, we have a very little bit of chapters to cover. Other than this deep water, we still have Indigo and the Rat Trap from Flamingo textbook. So I suggest that not only you watch these videos, but read your textbook thoroughly. Always read your textbook. Your textbook is your main concern. This is a very good thing for you, because if you read your textbook, you will be able to understand more instead of just watching the videos and listening to the explanation. Look at your textbook, read your textbook thoroughly. That is what I can suggest for you. Until then, stay safe.